Hello, everybody. Um, I'm a little riled up right now because I just saw this article. It's on the bookriot.com website about a school district in Nampa, Idaho, who has taken it upon themselves to take books out of the library because I guess they deemed them objectionable for some reason. I want to read you this article because at the end is what really set me off. It's bad enough they're taking the books away from the kids. And I would say it's pretty obvious they haven't read them because of the list of books. Most of them are really good books and don't have anything that I consider objectionable. Nothing that children shouldn't be allowed to read, as long as you're giving it to the appropriate age range. So here's the article. Nampa, Idaho schools permanently removed 24 books from the library. By Kelly Jansen. It was published today, May 11th. And it's on the bookriot.com website. In a 3-2 vote from the school board, 24 books were permanently removed from the Nampa, Idaho schools. The list, brought to the board earlier this year from concerned parents, includes books on the well-circulated Moms for Liberty book list. I've never heard of Moms for Liberty, but whatever. Here are the 24 books banned from Nampa schools. The Kite Runner. Okay, this one is really excellent. The only thing I can think might be objectionable is it's set in Afghanistan during wartime. So there's some violence in there. And I can't think of anything else really. There's some maybe bullying a little bit because of like a class issue. But if you have it in like the high school library, high schoolers can read this. It's not going to be inappropriate for high schoolers. So I don't know why they have an issue with it. Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. Not a bad book. It goes along with Simon and the Homo sapiens agenda. Y'all know which one I'm talking about. I'm guessing it's probably because it has queer characters. That seems to be the trigger right now for banning books. If it's not race, it's queer. So I'm guessing that's probably why. I don't have any explanation of why certain ones were chosen. Prince and the Dressmaker is a graphic novel about a prince that likes to wear dresses. And he befriends a dressmaker. He's not gay, necessarily, but he's probably considered non-binary, at the very least transvestite. I'm sure that's probably what triggered them. 13 Reasons Why. It's an okay book. Suicide's going to be the trigger on that one. 57 Bus by Dashka Slater. I don't know anything about that one, so I can't say anything. Drama by Raina Telgemeier? I don't know how to say their last name, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about that particular book either. Looking for Alaska by John Green. I can't remember what the thing is in that one. I kind of want to say suicide, possibly, which is probably why that one was targeted. But again, these books, if you put them in the right age group, that one in a high school really, I don't think would be that big of a deal. 13 Reasons Why, I don't think would be that big of a deal because of the way the subject is handled. It's not saying go out and commit suicide. It's saying this is why this person chose to do what they did, and here's how they're explaining themselves through these tapes. That one, I can understand why some parents would be triggered by it. Let's see, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, I haven't read. But I do know that Toni Morrison does cover some very heavy topics in her books. So I'm sure whatever topic, if nothing else, racism and slavery. I'm guessing slavery is involved in this one because a lot of her books include slavery. Handmaid's Tale. Okay, now I'll confess I hated this book with a passion. I really did not like this book. But the dystopian future that they presented, there's a lot of sexual stuff going on in there. And I think that's probably what's triggering people. And if they're going by the TV series instead of the book, they may not be getting the right view of what the book is. I haven't seen the TV show, so I can't really speak to that. But I do know that in today's political climate, with all the abortion stuff going on, we're kind of heading in that direction, I think. So maybe it's hitting too close to home. Maybe they just don't like literature. I don't know. Later Gator by Lauren Miracle. I don't know that story. Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez. I don't know that one. Perks of Being a Wallflower. Deals with mental illness. I think there's mentions of suicide as well. It's been a while since I read it. Again, if it's given to high schoolers, it's really not out of line. I guess if anybody considers anything that has mental illness in it or suicide in it, it's automatically a bad thing. But it depends on how it's handled, and I don't think this book handled it in a bad way. There is some drinking and stuff going on, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Crank by Ellen Hopkins. I don't know that book. Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This gets targeted all the time. It's always on the banned and challenged lists. I think part of it is racism, because we can't possibly celebrate Native Americans in any way, shape, or form. It is critical of society in a way, because of how poorly the Native Americans are treated in the book. It's been a while since I've read it again, so I don't remember everything. But, yeah, I think, again, at the high school level, it shouldn't be that bad. There is some abuse in there. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe there's some drinking and drug stuff, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly. I guess all that stuff combined is probably why, but I don't know. The next two are by Cassandra Clare, City of Heavenly Fire and Clockwork Princess. I haven't read either of those, so I can't speak to that. Eleanor and Park. There's some Asian characters. There's some abuse. The one person runs away. Eleanor, I believe it is, runs away because she's being abused. So the abuse part I can see being triggering for some people. And again, there's a lot of anti-Asian sentiment right now. So that could also be part of it. I thought it was a great book. That's like my favorite Rainbow Rowell book of the ones I've read. Quite honestly, I think a lot of her stuff's a little bit overrated. But I really liked Eleanor and Park. I think out of all of hers, that was the underrated one. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. I haven't read it, but I believe it's about the 9/11 stuff. So, terrorism. Yeah, I get that. Why people would be objectionable to that. But, again, think of the age group. You're not giving it to your preschoolers and kindergartners. You're giving it to your high schoolers. Sold by Patricia McCormick. I don't know that one. Speak by Lori Hulse Anderson. There is date rape in there, and that is why, I'm positive that's got to be why that one was targeted, because that one gets targeted a lot for that reason. 33 Snowfish by Adam Rapp. I've never heard of that one. I don't know anything about that one. It's Perfectly Normal, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, and Sexual Health. Well, right there in the title, the word sex. Automatically, it's a bad thing. We can't have children learning about their bodies and how they work. We can't have them learning about health. We can't have them learning what to do to stay safe. Okay, so that's the group of books. Like I said, there's a lot of good ones on there. And, a handful that I'm not familiar with, so I can't really speak to what those are, but I'm sure there's some piddly little reason why they're going, oh, this is bad. Okay, so anyway, let's continue with the article here. In early discussions about the challenge titles, committee members considered keeping the first several titles on shelves. This list with discussion suggests that reviewers utilize Common Sense Media, a non-professional resource, to help guide their conversations about the books. So there's a big red flag right there. You're using a non-professional resource to talk about books. If you want to know what the books are about, you don't go to some random place. You find professional resources like the ALA website, okay? And they're going to help you, guide you through this. No books were recommended for removal until a thorough review of the latter half of the list could be further evaluated. The school board elected otherwise and voted to remove all of the books. So, okay, so you're considering maybe keeping a couple of them? And then you said, nah, we're going to get rid of all of them because this random website says they're bad. By that time, we've traumatized or caused mental destruction to these students, Vice Chair Tracy Pearson said. I think it's too long and in the process could add lifetime trauma to a child who does not need to be experimenting with something that they have read about. It is very destructive and scary. What is destructive and scary is taking these books away, not letting the children have access to books. Just because a child reads something doesn't mean they're going to do what's in the book. Excuse me. I'm so riled up. You haven't traumatized or caused mental destruction to the students if you aren't forcing them to read them. If they're just sitting on a shelf, that child may not even look at them. And if most of these look like they're like young adult type books, the bulk of those are either young adult or adult from the ones that I've read personally off the list. So, if you're putting them on a shelf for high schoolers, like putting them in the high school library, high school kids have so much stuff they've got to do already between homework and potentially extracurricular activities, sports, jobs, and everything else that they have to do. A lot of them don't have time to read for fun, and the ones that do are going to be selective about what they read anyway. And the ones that are actual readers are probably not going to be like, oh, I read about suicide in this book, I'm going to go commit suicide now. That's not how it works. That is not at all how it works. What they might say is, okay, this person in here committed suicide for this reason. I don't think that's a good thing. Maybe they could have done the XYZ. And if they think about it, they're not going to do it, Just because a character in a book drinks or smokes or does drugs or runs away or has sex doesn't mean that the student reading it is going to run out and do it. Tracy Pearson is connected to the Idaho Freedom Foundation, whose mission is to make Idaho into a laboratory of liberty by exposing, defeating, and replacing the state's socialist public policies. Laboratory of liberty? You're giving them liberty by taking away books? How the fuck does that work? Have you ever heard of the First Amendment? You're taking away these kids' First Amendment rights by taking away books and telling them that freedom of speech isn't allowed because you're not allowed to read these books. Pearson, along with Jeff Kirkman and Brooke Taylor, won seats on the Nampa School Board last fall, giving it a conservative majority. Idaho politicians have made books a focal point in the last year. This legislative session saw the House bill pass HB 666. That couldn't be better. It's fucking evil taking books away, and they give it 666. Yeah. House Bill 666 intended to criminalize librarians who had objectionable material available for children in the library. Who's deciding what is objectionable? What's objectionable to person A may not be objectionable to person B. If one person reads it and doesn't like a book, and they say, hey, I didn't like this book, does that mean it has to leave the shelf? I don't understand how they can say, criminalize librarians who have objectionable material available for children in the library. I want to know who's deciding what's objectionable. And what gives them the right to tell me I can't read something. I'm so glad I'm not living in fucking Idaho. Has yet and likely will not proceed through the state Senate. So let's hope they have some senators with brains. State Representative Heather Scott co-hosted an event late last month to help train individuals in challenging and removing books from libraries across the state. What the actual fuck is going on in Idaho? Seriously? You're training people to remove books. To arbitrarily say, I find this objectionable, I'm taking it off the shelf. We're getting down to the end here. And this one just really blows my mind. It is not yet clear what will happen to the books being removed from Nampa schools. This decision was not made by the committee comprised of librarians, educators, and community members, but instead made by the conservative majority of the board. A power they do not have. Let me say that again. A power they do not have, but exercised anyway. So these three random people on the school board made this decision. They exercised a power they do not have to take these books off the shelf. I have a feeling there may be some court cases coming. And that's the end of that article. My God, I don't understand. I just do not understand. Obviously, they haven't read the books. And if they have, they're nitpicking. Because, like, for the Kite Runner, the stuff that's going on is the person's experience. You know? It's integral to the plot of the story. Sure, they could have written it without all that stuff, but then you wouldn't have a book. There wouldn't be a story. If you take the elements out that make it a good story, then what's the point of writing it, you know? Excellent book, by the way. I really loved The Kite Runner. Prince and the Dressmaker. It's a cute story. And it's a graphic novel, which I thought the artwork was cute. Nothing graphic, nothing sexual. The prince likes to wear dresses, and he has to kind of keep it secret because his family wouldn't understand. So he meets this girl who wants to get into fashion, and she becomes the designer of his dresses. Nothing bad there. Other than it's a boy, a prince, a male, wanting to wear dresses. You know what? My son, absolutely male, 100% male. And he says he's not gay. He says he's straight. Fine. But he loves to wear dresses. What is wrong with that? At least he's wearing clothes. You know? My son identifies as gender fluid. But he also tells me he's a male. So, I don't know. It's just some days he's more feminine than others, I guess. But he loves wearing dresses. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know who else wears dresses? Or, well, not necessarily dresses, but women's clothing. Okay? Some famous people who love to wear women's clothing. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. He wears women's clothing. Not a big deal. Nobody complains about that. There was a big controversy over Harry Styles wearing women's clothing on a magazine cover. And I say, more power to you. If you're happy wearing that, wear it, you know? And another one. Now this one, I read something recently where his wife and daughters said that they have to hide their clothing if they don't want him wearing it. And that is Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. He loves wearing women's clothing. So, why is it okay for some people, but not others? Why is it okay for people doing this in real life, but you can't depict it in a book? I just don't get it. I don't get it. People need to learn that not everybody's going to be like them. There are other people in the fucking world, you know? It takes a variety of people to make the world work. If everybody's the same, the world would be boring. 13 Reasons Why wasn't a great book. It was okay. It wasn't great. But I think if you put it for high school and not for younger grades, those kids are old enough to choose whether they read it or not. They've probably already watched the TV adaptation. Was it Netflix or whatever that had it? They've probably already seen it, so they probably already know the basics of what's going on in the story. Leah on the Offbeat, again, there are queer people in the world. They're the whole LGBTQ plus world is out there. So, I don't know. It breaks my heart to see these things being targeted. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have another rant video here in a not too distant future. And I'm going to read the book that is being targeted. It's going to be 2 separate videos because I want the book to be available for children to watch. They don't need to hear my rant. That's this one right here. It's Okay to Be a Unicorn. Big issues here in Ohio. I couldn't get a hold of the other book by the same author that a specific school board was having issues with. But I was just... Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. Okay, so we like to whitewash history, and we like to, Native Americans don't exist. They don't live in bad conditions. They're like everybody else. They don't exist. It's only white people that exist. Come on. He describes what it was like living on the res. I mean, seriously? You're going to take away depictions of poverty and what it's like living on the res because you arbitrarily think that children shouldn't read a book that some high schools actually assign? Now, see, this is what really drives me crazy. Some high schools have this as assigned reading. They teach the book in class, right? And then you've got school districts like this that are like, nope, can't have it. Nope. Get rid of it. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close about 9/11. So what? 9/11 didn't happen now? We can't have kids learning about it? Terrorism happens. It exists. And if you block children from learning about it, you're not going to prevent it from happening again. If anything, it's going to happen more often because you're preventing people from learning about it. Speak, it talks about date rape. And yes, that's a very difficult subject, and I can understand why some parents would be iffy about it and not wanting their kids necessarily reading about it. But it also talks about how these people deal with the situation. And that's the important part of the story. Not the act itself necessarily, but how they deal with it, how they survive the aftermath. And I read this. I read Speak in my adolescent young adult literature class about 15 years ago now. And funnily enough, picked up like 2 other books that dealt with essentially the same topic, but from different perspectives. So Speak, I think, is from the perspective... Oh, I can't remember now. One was from the perspective of the girl that was raped. One was from this perspective of like the sister of the boy accused of committing the rape. And the other one, I can't remember. I think there was 3 books. Might have only been 2 books. I'm surprised that The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things, or whatever it's called, something to that effect, isn't on here, because that was the one that I read right after I read Speak. Just kind of, I thought the title sounded interesting. And it had similar themes, but coming at it from a different perspective. So, you could do a unit on that. If I was allowed, if I was actually teaching in a high school, teaching English in a high school, which I have the degree to do it, I just need to, get my license redone and find a job. But if I had a school that would let me, I would want to teach a class on the banned books, where that's what the kids would read. Books that have been banned and challenged, and we would discuss why they're banned and challenged, and, do a unit on date rape. Reading Speak and The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things, I think is the title. And, say, okay, now, you've seen it from a couple perspectives, and talk it out. Kids are not stupid. And we're treating them like they are. And, by taking these 24 books off the shelf, I'm guessing the 57 bus might have something to do with Rosa Parks and the bus boycott, but I really don't know. I'm going to guess it's a racism issue. But like I said, I really don't know. I haven't read that one. I don't know anything about drama. Later Gator. Just the fact that it's L8R, G8R, that drives me nuts. I don't like the title just from the way it's written. If it was spelled out, Later Gator, I'd be fine with the title, but having the 8s in there drives me nuts. But that's a personal preference, personal issue. I wouldn't keep somebody from reading it because of that. I have no idea what it's about. I'm actually surprised at some of the things that are not on the list. Because of what they chose, I can think of a couple other books that I'm like, they have similar topics, but I don't know. Maybe they just haven't gotten to them yet. I'm not going to give them any suggestions by naming them here. But it drives me crazy when people who most likely haven't even read the books just arbitrarily start banning stuff. If you want to read the article, it's bookriot.com/Nampa, Idaho book ban. I'm sure it's probably on the main page since it's today's thing under the censorship heading. I'm going to leave it here because I am so wound up right now. So wound up. What the fuck, Idaho? Seriously. Oh, no, no, no. Don't take books away from kids. I don't, it just drives me crazy that 3 people who did not have the power to make these decisions made the decisions anyway. I can't stress it enough. A power they did not have. 3 people made this decision. They're claiming it was because of concerned parents. But do they have any quotes from these supposed concerned parents? No. Not in the article, anyway. I'd like to hear what these concerned parents had to say. Have these parents read the books? Probably not. They probably heard somebody say, oh, well, you know what that book's about, right? You know what that book's about, don't you? That book's about suicide. That book's about sex. That book's about this, that, and the other thing. Where it may be just a small piece within the larger story. Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox for the moment. Remember to do all the YouTube things. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Ring the bell icon to be notified of future uploads, future rants. Because of the way places are banning books lately, there's going to be more rants. I can pretty much guarantee that. So, yeah, I've gone on about this for a while now. I think I'll let you go. Make your own decisions. Read the books before you make those decisions. And hopefully these people will get their heads out of their asses, read the books, and find out that they're not as bad as they think they are. That whatever this website is that they're utilizing probably has it wrong. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.